Hey, boys and girls, it's Ron Bass with another edition of Soar Personal Development. Ron's Mixed Bag.
Yep.
Your source for inspiration, encouragement, pop culture, all the above, and more.
And more.
And more.
And more. Okay.
Speaking of the devil, definitely
That's me. That's me. That's me.
Our producer.
Of many things.
Mr. Executive Producer.
Of many different things.
Soar High Records and Soar High Personal Development and podcast.
Ron's Den, which we're having a meeting on tomorrow.
That's right.
We're going to come up with a better name.
Tell us
what
our next product's going to be.
So our next product is going to be a talk show. That is more influenced by entertainment.
Yes.
Such as musical acts.
Yes.
We want to bring people into our studio, have an interview with them, and then have them perform some songs.
I love it.
Almost like Howard Stern, but better.
I love it. Howard Stern, you got nothing on us, buddy. Although I will say, my old friend who used to produce these podcasts said, his son said, "Yeah, Ron's no Johnny Carson." That stuck in my craw. I'll never forgot that. So I'm determined to build a good product.
Yep.
And we're going to do that.
We are.
So on a more somber note, we're going to talk a little bit tonight about the topic's going to be addictions. We've done this before.
Okay.
So we'll call this part 2, part 3, part 4. We can never really do enough of addiction discussion.
Part 100.
Yeah, because it haunts us every day, all around us all the time.
I agree.
And so I'm going to kind of go down through a list, and we're going to talk about each one of these things, each one of these items as we go. It haunts me because I have so many friends that have either died or are dealing with it, as you probably have as well.
Yeah.
And as you audience out there probably have as well. But so I think to myself, what's the why? Why are people getting addicted? Number one, what's the advantage? What's the disadvantage? How can you cope? How can you beat it? And we're talking about not just drugs, but we're talking about alcohol, which is really a drug, gambling, relationships, being codependent. I think that's an addiction.
Addiction to money.
How does it start? We talked about this one night. I think a lot of it starts with doctors prescribing opiates in a very innocent way. Like, hey, I had surgery, or I have tooth surgery, I need some opiates. I need some, pain pills, which is really a nice way of saying opiates, right?
Yep.
Whether it's hydrocodones or whether it's oxycodone or...
there's also like Percocet. What's the other one? Hydro.
They're all cut from the same cloth. They're all trouble.
Exactly.
And I know in my case, we talked about it one night. It started with me at 13 years old getting prescribed Valium.
Man.
Because I had my hand would go into spasms. And I said, "What's up, Doc? Why is this happening?" He says, "Oh yeah, you're a nervous guy. You got to have..." And here I was like maybe 12 years old. And that's what started my trip, all the years that I did pills. So I think it starts off in a very innocent sort of way.
Right.
Which is really super unfortunate. And then, if you can't get enough prescription because they cut you off.
Yep.
But let's talk about prescriptions. So here's the doctor. I hate to be on the negative side, but if you really want to delve deep, he's like a legal drug pusher. Because every month you got to come back and you got to pay the doctor to get the prescription refilled.
Yep.
But it's under the guise of, hey, we're going to make sure you're okay. No, it's not. It's to get their money.
Get their money.
And get their... And it's legal drug pushing. I hate to say it.
No, it's true. It's true. It was an epidemic.
And I know some of the people are probably going to say that's not right, but I've been through this too many times. On a personal note, I know.
Listen, it's the same thing as just an example, police officers. It can take one bad egg to kind of put a sour taste in your mouth, just overall, Not every doctor is out here prescribing people, 50 milligrams of oxys for 30 days, Some of them are only giving them, when I had my wisdom teeth pulled, I only had 5 oxys and they were only 10 milligrams. I only used 1. That's all I wanted. I just needed to kill the pain the first first day. But it's just not every doctor is pushing that agenda, but some of them are. Some of them are.
But I'm talking more about the idea of how does it begin?
True.
And why does it happen? And I think it happens in most cases in a very innocent way.
I agree.
My brother, "Hey, Ron, here, have some hydrocodones." And I'm already taking Valium. Okay. I didn't, I've trusted my brother. I love my brother. He's passed away from drug addiction. It's just all around me all the time. And if it's around me all the time, it's probably around you guys all the time too, because it's everywhere. But I say that to say this: it's once it starts.
Right.
And then what happens? And then it's then you go into doctor shopping. You start buying on the street. I did all this. Then you start selling to support your habit. Then you start stealing. And this is why there's so much crime. Either there's crime of passion or crime of addiction. It's not like these people, if they were sober, would ever do this stuff.
Right.
And let alone if you were sober, you probably wouldn't have killed your husband's boyfriend. You probably wouldn't have got in trouble over a relationship. You probably wouldn't have hit your wife.
Right.
I mean, I could write a book about that. I've got several friends right now that have been in and out of jail because they've attacked their wives, attacked their spouse.
Which is sad.
If it's not a wife, it's a girlfriend.
Right.
I can think of at least 3 examples off the top of my head just as we speak. That shouldn't be happening.
No.
But it does
not at
happen
all.
because of addictions. It happens because of codependency. It happens because of jealousy. It happens because of poor judgment, which is usually clouded because of drug addiction.
Yep.
Making poor choices.
Needing
Because when you're
money.
high, what happens?
I mean, you lose motor sensory skills, you lose your reaction time, things like that.
Your whole sense of judgment goes out the window.
Out the
Am I right or
window,
wrong?
yeah.
Why else would you drive and drink when you know the odds are, potentially anyway, you're going to get in trouble, pulled over,
Yeah.
or have an accident, or hurt somebody, or hurt yourself?
Exactly.
But why do we do it?
I don't know. So I was talking to somebody about this a couple days ago. It was like, some people in this world don't care about their own lives, so
good
therefore they don't care about your life. Just per example, somebody that's driving drunk doesn't care about their own life because they're like, oh, it doesn't matter if I get in trouble, it doesn't matter if I crash, things like that. So they're also not thinking about that family of 4 that they hit and killed, you know?
Sad.
It is sad. It's very sad.
Speaking of that, I just remembered a story. One of my friends, Carl Cotner, who used to work for me, I met him when I was like 13 years old. He's in his late 80s now. Him and his daughter were driving in Springfield, and a gentleman who I knew owned a bar here in Springfield, was drunk, crossed the center line, killed her, and just about killed him.
Man.
Yeah, and I remember this is years ago, but it's another simple example of what I'm suggesting, that people, why do we do this stuff? Why? How do we get there? How do we get there to start with? And how much of this is because of genetics? Like, well, you've got the alcoholic gene, you've got the addiction gene. That's simplifying it, I know, but I'm confident that it plays a role in a lot of addiction. Whereas other people, they can drink, they can drug, and they never have that addiction problem. They just do it occasionally, do it because they want to once in a while or for entertainment. But then there's the guy that can't stop.
No, yeah.
And I think a lot of that is the genetic or the gene or the whatever it is in the brain that makes you, I gotta have it, I gotta have it, I gotta have it.
So there's
And if you've got that gene and you've got that problem, there's only one choice. You have to abstain.
there are a couple of different things that go into addiction. There is the genes, like you're talking about. So say, in my family, alcoholism is bad. It runs rampant throughout my mother's side, and not really my father's side, I don't know as much, but my mother's side, it runs rampant through there. So you could say I have the gene for addiction, just an addictive personality. Then there is also an addictive personality, which is just something that you learn over time. You kind of become addicted to one or multiple things.
Fair enough.
That release a lot of dopamine, which is the other example that I was going to bring up. A lot of addiction.
So obsessive compulsive behavior, does that tie into that?
Yes, it does. It does. It's all about the chemicals that are in your brain. And when you have an imbalance, like we've talked about,
So you're born this way? Probably.
Maybe. Probably. I think that, again, I'm big on...
I'm confident I was born with a chemical imbalance, and I had a lot of problems when I was your age.
Yeah.
And it took a long time to... I don't think you ever overcome them completely. I think you just learn to manage them.
And a lot of
to where you can, be okay.
Right.
But it's still an issue.
I agree. And
There's no magic pill.
No, not at all. And a lot of people, everyone has the same chemicals in their brain. We're all made up the same, but we all vary. Think of it like a pie chart. Just because I have these 4 different... what am I looking for?
What you're talking about? 4 different parts of the brain, or
4 different chemicals.
Chemicals,
and they're all evenly balanced.
Okay.
You could have the exact same 4 chemicals, but they could be completely different than mine, balance-wise. Just because we're different humans, and going through different experiences, different amounts of dopamine release, things like that. I can get really deep into it.
Okay, so let's back all the way up. What is it about drugs and alcohol and gambling and relationships what's the attraction?
Dopamine. You win.
So you may not even realize that's happening, but that's really what's happening in a biological sort of way.
Yes.
So this dopamine is like a feel-good chemical.
Yes, it's I want to do it again.
Because it makes me feel
good. Correct.
Interesting. So that's the bottom line.
Correct. So you know how we talk about success and achieving goals? For someone who has a gambling addiction, their goal is to make money. When they go into a casino, they go in the first time, they win big, all of that dopamine is released, and it's like, whoa, I'm going to do it again. Let me do it again. Let me win more. They go and they are in the hole twice as much as they came in with. You see what I'm saying? But it's
still drives
chemical.
them. It drives them.
Yes. It's I've got to do it.
So what's the solution to not have that problem?
That's one that I can't answer. I'm not sure.
What's the simple answer? Not to participate.
Not to
have
participate.
The discipline to recognize that it's an issue and you can't do it or else your life is in ruins.
And trade it for something else.
Which is a better addiction.
Correct.
That's what I did when I had
coffee and cigarettes.
Yep. I know when I smoked, I traded it for the addiction of coffee, which was the caffeine, and running, caffeine. Which was dopamine.
Exactly.
And that got me off the cigarettes, which was horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible to smoke cigarettes. It killed my father. It messes people's lungs up. You wind up with emphysema. You get COPD. You can't breathe. I mean, it's just horrible.
It is.
I can't tell you how horrible it is. It's horrible.
It's awesome.
So anything's better than that.
Yes,
in my opinion.
I agree.
Well, not anything, but
most
drinking
things.
coffee and eating more and running is a lot better than smoking cigarettes.
I do agree with that. And
I figured that out on my own. I didn't go to a patch or a school or a hypnotist, or I just said, hey, you know what? This is really bad, and now I got to suffer the consequences, which was tough for 6 months or a year. But you're not going to die.
No,
you're going to get through it. And I think that's why most people don't quit addiction, because they don't want to suffer. Oh my God! No, you have to suffer. Life's that way. You made a bad decision. Now you have to suffer to overcome the struggle. You have to suffer to overcome the problem. But not forever.
No.
For a short period of compare 6 months to a lifetime.
Exactly. That
6 months that I suffered was a million times worth it, so that the rest of my life I could enjoy my life and have good health and be ambitious and enjoy myself.
I agree.
And be successful. Or at least be on the track to be successful. Versus if I would have continued to smoke, I wouldn't be here tonight. No. I know I wouldn't be.
Yeah, I mean,
I watched my father suffer. It was horrible.
It is sad, and I mean, the only person that I've seen really addicted to cigarettes in my life was my mother, and she eventually did kick them. But
well, that's good.
I would have said the same thing, like if she would have kept smoking them.
So dopamine's the allure.
Dopamine is the allure, correct.
Interesting.
A lot of things release dopamine in your brain, though. Video games release dopamine.
But that's not that kind of thing is harmless compared to these problems.
Exactly. I'm just saying there are so many things that you could choose to release dopamine.
Sex,
comparatively to drugs and alcohol. Yeah,
sex, being in love. I get it. I get what you're saying.
There's so many different things. Yeah. Doing a podcast, making music.
Okay, so let's talk further about this. Here, let's go down this road. So, I know somebody right now who's in the hospital who's an alcoholic, fairly young, and has a horrible nicotine addiction, has a horrible alcohol addiction, diabetic.
Wow.
I knew she was sick, and she went to the hospital 2 days ago, but her blood sugar was over 600, which I studied today that's like on the verge of being in a coma.
Mm-hmm.
In critical condition right now in ICU. Well, I don't know if they call it critical, but isn't that why you go to the ICU?
Yeah, intensive care unit.
So, in my opinion, on the verge of dying, but the person, the husband doesn't recognize this, doesn't sense that this is the case. But from what I read, that's like really bad news. And so the idea is that being a diabetic, she knows she can't drink, but she drinks anyway. So back to the addiction. It's bad for you. You could die, but you can't quit. So my view of this is that when she gets out and gets well again, she'll go right back to the drinking. Because the addiction is so hard to break, and the discipline isn't there, you go right back into the same thing. And eventually what happens?
You die.
You die. So I say that to say this. The physical downside to these addictions is horrible. What it does to you physically, your inability to perform anything that's anything physical,
right? Because
you're so weak and you don't feel good and your brain's not working right. It just takes its toll, whether it's Because the alcoholism creates what? The diabetes, or it contributes. And then you wind up with like kidney failure, I've read. You wind up with...
you can lose any extremity.
You can use your legs and your arms.
Yeah, you can lose fingers, hands. You can lose a lot of things from diabetes.
It's just terrible. And then the other side of the coin is you wind up in jail, which this person's been in and out of jail, in and out of jail, in and out of jail, because you make poor decisions. You're stealing for the drugs. You're not thinking clearly. You're making bad choices. Now you're in jail. Now you're in the hospital. Now you're in jail. Now you're in the hospital. Back and forth, back and forth. It's just a dead end street. And yet, guess what? That person probably won't quit drinking. And that just to the normal person, like people like you and I, doesn't make sense. But to that person, I think it's a death wish. They're probably so discouraged and distressed about everything in life that they want to die. But this is the easier way to die versus like putting a gun to your head. That's another one. That's a theory from me, from my perspective. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I think it works.
Well, it's almost like suicide by cop. You know, when you get caught.
Like you can't do it to yourself, so I'm just going to create this big scene, and I know you're going to take me out, and I don't have to do it to myself.
Exactly.
Same kind of thing.
Exactly. Wow. I know, it's sad. It's sad.
And or also homeless, by the way, is another reality to addiction. Why do people wind up homeless that have addiction?
So this is a
lot of people.
This is a very extreme example, but I'll put this example out there. Say you have this millionaire. They have a home, they have 2 cars, whatever, and they're addicted to cocaine, one of the most expensive drugs in the world. And which I did one summer, by the way. It becomes so bad that they don't have any more money. They lose their job.
Yeah.
Now they have their house and their 2 cars, and they put them up for sale to get more drugs. And it doesn't matter how much they sell it for, as long as it's enough for a little 8-ball.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And then now you're just SOL.
So that's the way it works, huh?
Yeah. And it's sad. It's so sad. And then you also have, this one's more of a bias thing. It's like you have felons that get out of jail and they've been, they have learned their lesson, quote unquote, as much as they can, and they want to do better in society. But they can't get a job, they can't get an ID, they can't get a credit card, they can't get a debit card, all because they're a felon.
Right.
So what can they do? Go rob people, sell drugs,
that's what they're doing.
Cut drugs, whatever they need to. You see what I'm saying?
And it's a revolving door.
Yep.
It's back and forth from jail to the street, jail to the street.
Exactly.
And eventually, hospital, and eventually death.
Yep, exactly.
Probably not at an old age.
No.
Probably at a young age.
Before 50, most of the time, which is even more sad.
It is sad, isn't it? But I guess the answer is there is no answer.
There isn't.
It's really up to the individual. And I don't think, and I've read another article that says only 1 out of 10 people that are addicted ever kick it. That's 90% that fail. That's horrible.
It is. And then you can put probably 35 to 40% of people in the world are addicted to something.
Wow.
Something. I mean, so then do the math on that. Maybe 10%.
So my friend Ike used to say, help people the way they want to go. If they want to go up and they're sincere, give them a hand. If they want to go down, they don't want to help, get out of their way. You can't help those people.
No.
But you can help some people. Not very many are going to take the advice, unfortunately. But hey, to save one person's life
is to have saved the whole world.
It's a powerful thing.
I agree. It's time for our what happened to us this week. I've got something that happened to me this week.
Okay, let me hear it.
So I was asleep at a normal time for once in my life, 2 a.m.
Okay.
I wake up the next morning, and my PayPal account had been hacked.
Hacked?
Somebody took $600 from me.
No, come on, man.
Yep, $600.
What?
So I had to go to the bank that morning, said, hey, listen, this is not me. This is fraudulent. Please do something about it. The bank was amazing. They helped me out.
Wow.
Gave me all my money back.
Wow.
And then you know what PayPal did?
What?
They took it all back again and said that I had to pay this person because somehow they logged in and then transferred it to their account somehow through PayPal. So PayPal had to take it. PayPal was like, no, that's not how it works. And I was like, but it's fraudulent. And they said, you got your money back from your bank, but we still have to take it from you. I was like, what?
No, that's no way, man.
Yeah, so I'm still working on that.
You're going to have to work this. This is unfair.
I know.
This is crap.
I know. I was asleep. Think about it like that.
Do you have any idea who might have done this? Was it just like a thief in the night?
Some thief in the night.
Like
hackers.
A hacker.
They're getting better and better and better and better.
So this is really bad news. I'm never going to have a PayPal. Well, I do have a PayPal account.
Yeah.
I think we have a PayPal account.
Yeah, lots of PayPal accounts.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not good.
It's not. That's why we
need to really dig into this.
The online banking is, that's where everybody wants, that's where
I need to help you with this. We need to get involved in this.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
That's terrible.
That's where everybody wants everything to go. They want all the money to be digital, and it's not. It's unsafe. It's unsafe to me.
$600 might as well be $6 million. You need that money.
Exactly.
That's very important.
Exactly. But yeah, that's what happened to me this week. But besides that, I've had a great week. It's been really nice. Beautiful.
We need to outside of the studio. We need to figure out a solution to this because that cannot stand.
No, but we'll figure it out. Trust me.
That's really bad news, man.
It's all right.
You don't need that. You got other things to deal with. You don't need to be dealing with that. You've got too much to deal with as it is.
I know, right? But it's all right. We make it work. Professional problem solving.
Well, we'll talk about that after we do our podcast.
All right. That's
okay.
All right.
So I've got one rant to talk about, then we'll get out of here.
Whoa, a single rant. All right. So it must be big. All right. I'm ready.
Big.
I'm ready.
It's really big. It's like $32 trillion big.
Whoa. Okay. I know what the rant is. All right. I'm ready.
So I'm really pissed off.
Okay.
I know we talk about this from time to time, but back in 1960, the whole budget for the United States was $100 billion. Now it's like $5 trillion, maybe more, and our national debt is now $32 trillion. Just the other day, it was like $25 trillion. It's out of control. I mean, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Eventually, I'm afraid what's going to happen is the bottom's going to drop out, and then it's going to be like. And you know what's really bad is how unreliable and how disingenuous and how irresponsible our politicians are.
I agree.
And I've got friends that are politicians, and I hate to say it like this, but it's just sick.
And for me, it's not even the president. It's all politicians.
It's all politicians. They're the ones that pass the law, and the president has to sign off on a budget. But you're talking about 60-plus years of crap. It took 60-plus years to get here. We had a balanced budget in 1960. We had a surplus.
Yep. We had more money than we knew what to do with. And now we don't have any.
All we do is borrow money to pay the debt. Exactly. So at $32 trillion in debt, even at 5% interest, that means we're paying almost $2 trillion a year in just interest. That's crazy. Maybe $3 trillion. Maybe $4 trillion. It's disgusting.
I agree.
And the politicians just banner this shit around like it means nothing. Like, oh yeah, we can't. We have to pass this budget if we don't, the world's going to come to an end. No, it's not. They have all kinds of whatever it is in place to keep the government going anyway. But it's all sensationalism. It's oh my God, oh my God, oh my. And the Democrats, the Republicans, the president, the press. Come on, man.
Have you heard the quote from George Washington?
The sky's falling. Bullshit.
Right. Have you heard?
What's bullshit is that all this is happening and nobody's doing anything about it.
Right. I know. Can you believe it? Everybody's just kind of sitting there watching it.
It's pathetic.
Pathetic. Ooh,
and I don't think there's an answer. It's kind of like addiction. And I'm an optimistic guy, and I always believe there's a solution, but I don't think there's a solution for this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Just like with addiction, I think it's like somebody's got to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get it together, man, because it's not going to get any better.
No. And a lot of countries are backing out of using USD as a form of denomination because of the value of it.
Hey, what's up?
Ron's on the phone.
I'm doing the podcast, but I'll be done here in just a minute.
Ron is on the phone.
I'll call you right back.
I really like it. It's funny.
Okay.
That's how off the cuff we can be. That's how off the cuff we can be. No, it's okay. I love it.
Yeah.
I want to tell you a quote from George Washington real quick.
Okay.
Our very first president. You know what he said?
What did he say?
He said that the downfall of America will be political parties.
Well, now, I have to think about that.
George Washington, our very first president.
You have to have like opposition for it to have a free government. You can't have it like one-sided.
I agree. But
I'm not sure I agree with that.
What if everyone agreed?
They're not. That's not.
I agree. I know it's not. It
almost sounds like he's like thinking like a king because he was like close to the king. Yeah, that's no good.
I agree.
That's a weird statement.
I know, right?
But back then, it was a different kind of world.
It was.
The president was designed to be like a king.
Yes. And they wanted George Washington
They had king authority.
They wanted him to be in office his entire life.
Yeah.
And he said no.
No, it's changed.
2 terms.
No, 1 term. Back in the day, it was only...
It was only 1? He said, no, I thought he said only 2.
No, you're right about this. No, because Roosevelt had 3 terms.
Roosevelt did. He's the only one to get 3.
Yeah, so it wasn't just 1 term.
So
they had term limits eventually, but not until after World War II. I think.
Yes, correct.
So they could have been a president for life in theory if they got voted in each time.
Roosevelt's 3 terms was a specific thing. I'm pretty sure.
No, he was voted in each time. There was no term limits. At any rate, that's another time.
Yeah. A whole different thing.
Any closing thoughts, sir?
Addiction is tough. You can do it. If you believe in yourself and you have some help, you can definitely do it.
You definitely need some mentorship.
Yes, some mentorship.
Hang out with people that are going to encourage you and set a good example for you.
Instead of enablers who want you to continue to be addicted to bad things and blah, blah,
You got to be around straight people that are going to tell you like it is and not just tell you what you want to hear.
Exactly.
It's hard to find those people.
It is. But you can find them.
Like I know a guy right now who's addicted and his dad's like, yeah, I'm going to take care of my son. And then he's doing pot. He's smoking pot. He's doing drugs. Come on, man. That's disingenuous.
Right.
I'm not trying to be like a know-it-all and a hard ass, but I mean, there's some basic rules you got to follow if you want to be successful.
I agree.
It's not rocket science.
No, not
People
at all.
make it too complicated. The other side of the coin, you got to be consistent, but the other side of the coin, you have to be patient.
Yes.
Success does not come easily.
No.
I've been in business 50 years, and I've only had a fair amount of success for the last 10. So I went 40 years of a lot of this, and but I'm just so determined to believe in myself. I believe in myself enough that I never quit.
Right.
Now, some people come out of the gate and they make, they're successful right away. That was not me.
That doesn't happen to most people.
So I'm just saying, you don't give up on yourself is the key.
Right.
Hang in there. And it's not always about money. It's not always about, being a successful person in the popular sense. Just believe in yourself, follow the rules, and don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up.
Little goals.
And just expanding your goals as you accomplish goals and make bigger and bigger goals as you're able to as you accomplish the smaller goals.
I agree.
Okay, guys. So thanks for tuning in. Ron's Mixed Bag. Stay tuned for the new upcoming broadcast, which will be called, we think...
Howard Stern isn't as good as us. That's what it's going to be called. No, I'm kidding.
We're going to call it Ron's Den.
Ron's Den for right now. We're gonna have something better.
It's going to be a talk show. It's going to be an entertainment talk show. So
very fun.
Stay tuned for that on our YouTube channel.
Very laid back.
It's going to be cool.
Here.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be more fun than this.
This is fun. I like this.
The audience may not think this.
Yeah. But that's all right.
Our new broadcast will be more fun.
The people that are listening right now, because how many do we usually have? 20 people listening to the whole thing? Thank you. Thank you for listening.
You guys for listening.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay. So until next time, if you don't give up, just remember the stars. They usually will line up. So until next time, keep your head on straight and
stay positive.